Hi, everybody. It's me, Dr. H. I'm back. I'm very excited to be back with another episode of Relationship Killers. Man, if you can't tell, I'm very excited and passionate about this topic. I think that it is life changing for so many of us in the age of the internet and hashtag relationship goals. With all that being said, we have so much out there that's supposed to help us with relationships. But if that's the case, why are so many relationships ending up in the relationship graveyard? Well, in last week's episode, in the first episode that I did on relationship killers, I talked about some of the external things that I identified. My list is not all exhaustive. I am not the end all to be all, but those were some things that I found that were on the outside affecting your relationships or our relationships. And so today, I'm going to be talking about the things that affect your relationship from the inside because it's not always everybody else. So, hey, sometimes we think that it's always, oh, we want to blame everybody else, and oh, this person's in my business, and that person, and this thing over here, and that thing over there. No, honey, no. Sometimes it's you. So let's get into some of the things that I observed, that I found out, some things that I researched, that I discovered are some internal things affecting our relationships. So the first thing, and this is coming as no surprise, honey, no surprise, emotion, because they get the best of all of us, honey, all the time. So, the root of a lot of relationships that end up in the relationship graveyard is our emotions. We just don't know how to keep our emotions in check. We just let our emotions run us. Sometimes, ladies, we chalk it up to hormones and PMS and all this other kind of stuff. But how long we gonna ride that excuse? How long that gravy train is supposed to last? At the end of the day, whether it's emotions, hormones, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to chalk it up to, we as human beings are responsible for controlling ourselves. I mean, that's just we just have to control ourselves. That's part of being mature. That's part of growing up. If we put toxic emotions out there, we're going to get toxic emotions back. And you can't just keep saying, oh, I don't feel good, or it's just I'm in my feelings, and you're just supposed to understand, and da 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 da. You're going to run that relationship right on out because that's not going to ride too much longer. Whether it's with your intimate relationship with your girlfriends, your homies, your whatever you want to call them, your riders, after a while, people are not going to keep being your dumping ground. At some point you've got to grow up. At some point you got to just check yourself. Who gonna check you? You need to check yourself, because many times when other people check you even more in your feelings, and that can't keep being an excuse. You got to ask yourself, how am I expected to stop toxic and all of this toxicity flowing through my relationship when I'm bringing it to the table? The other thing is, I think a lot of us, sometimes when it comes to relationships and emotions, we don't have a benchmark. You don't have, an example. You don't have anything that's shown you anything different. So if you grew up in toxic, if you grew up where, folks are always in their feelings and emotions always ran the relationship, that's what you're going to bring to the table because you don't have another benchmark. You don't have anything else different. Now, with that said, we have the internet. I'm not advocating all the time, but I mean, you can get sermons, the dude, Pastor Mike, that whole series on relationship goals. I mean, You can do John Gray. He talks about relationships. I mean, there's so many other, positive things out there that you can look to. You can get counseling. There are at this point when it comes to relationships and having a healthy, stable relationship, the first one you have to develop is the one with yourself. And many times people bring to the table what they do to themselves. So if you're not likable and lovable to yourself, you're not going to bring that to a relationship. You're going to run every friend, everybody who really cares about you away until somebody, God sends somebody that's going to be like, I'm going to help you be a better version of yourself. Because you can't receive love until you learn how to give it. And you can't give it until you learn how to receive it. And you must first love yourself before you can love anybody else. You must care about yourself before you care about anybody else. And you got to learn how to manage your own emotions. And the problem is a lot of people don't know how to do that. And it's not because they are intentional about it. Some people may be, but I just think it's a lot of times is you don't have a positive benchmark when it comes to relationships because you haven't seen it, and you can't walk where you haven't seen, where you haven't been. You can't follow a path that you don't even know where it goes, let alone where it even starts. And I'm telling you, it starts with you checking yourself, check your own emotions, check that box that you have yourself in, and challenge your viewpoint of relationships and what it is it constantly take, because if that's your viewpoint, that's very toxic, because um, it, it's relationships are reciprocity. At some point you've got to pour into that relationship, because an empty bank account is just that, empty. If you don't ever put any money in there, you can't draw from it. You just gonna have a bunch of credit cards and debt and all this other kind of stuff. But eventually you got to pay that card off. Or your name, your credibility, everything about who you are, you're not going far because it's going to be tarnished because you don't pay your debts. Relationship, you have to think about relationships sometimes in that manner. If you don't put anything in, how do you expect to get anything out? And then the quality, the substance of what you put in is what you're going to get out. Now, I'm not saying that, you might just be in a toxic relationship with the wrong person. You might have some wrong friends. You might be with the wrong group of people. And sometimes people push buttons. If you're with a bunch of people that just push buttons all the time, you really need to reevaluate those people. And I'm going to say, step away, get away from those people. Because if all they're doing is pulling out bad and making you feel bad and pulling out toxic and toxic and toxic, they're not the right friends. They're not the right people that you need to be in a relationship with. That's the first thing. The second thing you got to do once you get away from those people is figure out why you attracted those people. Why were you attracted to them? Or why were they attracted to you? Or both. What is it about you that attracted that kind of personality to you? And raise your benchmark, raise your standard. And how do you do that? Find people that you really want to connect with, who you really want to be like. What is that social circle like? And then start transforming yourself. Start, you know, connecting and walking with a different group of people. Because, if you're hanging around with destructive people, the end is destruction. If you're hanging around people who are constantly, y'all know what kind of relationships that is, just constant fighting. You're always at each other, always just verbally, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Get out. Anybody that pushes your buttons to the point that you feel like you have to get physical, you want to throw, you want to do this, get out. I don't care if she been your rider, your girlfriend, your best friend since third grade. That ain't the same person. Third grade you and 21-year-old you is not the same. Third grade you and 30-year-old you is not the same. Get away from third-year-old, because maybe the reason she's pushing your buttons is because she's still third grade. and you're 30, but she's still acting like third grade and wants you to act like third grade or wants you to stay in that. No, baby, no. You have to learn when your paths go this way. And maybe they'll meet again in the future, and maybe they won't, but you have to learn to be okay with that. If you want more, you have to increase your capacity for more, which means you got to check yourself and check the things that are pushing your buttons that's causing you to act out emotionally. It's called growth. The next thing I found, and I thought this was really profound, is something is by a guy named John Gottman. He's a professor and he does research on relationships. And he calls something, it's called the four horsemen. And it just makes me think about the four horsemen of the apocalypse. I don't know why, but it just does. But now in his research, he does more research on like marriages and stuff. But I think that the four horsemen of the apocalypse of relationship, I call it. I mean, just the relationship. I'm talking about relationship. Keep your relationships out of your relationship graveyard. I don't mean to laugh, y'all, but it's just. I'm just saying. I think it's applicable to any kind of relationship. To be honest, he points out these four horsemen. He calls them the four horsemen of the marriage apocalypse, and so I'll call them the four horsemen of relationship apocalypse because when I read, I'm just going like, this is everywhere. Like, this is in every relationship. I don't care if you're married. I don't care if you're with your friends. It doesn't matter. You can even apply this on your job. I promise you. I'm telling you, this is really good. So, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, of the relationship apocalypse, is criticism, defensiveness, stonewalling, and contempt. And y'all know good and well, you've experienced all four of them at some point in a relationship. So criticism, he says, criticism is global. It's everywhere. But criticism doesn't attack a person's behavior. According to him, it attacks the person. So if somebody be like, oh, you always in your feelings, you always doing this, you always doing that, they're really criticizing you, not the behavior. There's nothing wrong with complaining. Like, you voice your complaint. But the people we fellowship with, the people we're in relationship with, are not our garbage cans. And the problem is, a lot of times we're again back to emotions. We're in a relationship with people who are just treating us like garbage cans because that's all they know. They don't know anything different. But the thing is, when you want a healthy, stable relationship, you have to see people as people and not like garbage cans. They're not our dumping grounds all the time. Now, sometimes you do need to vent. Yeah, but you shouldn't be venting every day of your relationship. Every day you got something. Every day you mean to tell me there's not a shining moment in your life at any point? I know some folks on your job, every day they got something to complain about. I mean, it's like they ain't got nothing good. They never have anything good to say. I mean, really? Doesn't that get exhausting? Doesn't it just get downright tiresome? Because I know for me, it is. It's tiresome. It's worrisome. Because all they do is criticize, complain. At some point, you have to draw the line between complaining and criticism. You got to draw that line. You have to say, you know what? Enough is enough. And I'm just not going to put up with it anymore. I'm just not. I'm just not. And you have to, if you suffer from, excess criticism and complaining, go see somebody. There's nothing wrong with counseling. Okay? Nothing wrong with counseling. Go get you some counseling, baby, to talk through and work through what's ailing you. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. Something is ailing you that to where you're constantly complaining, you're constantly criticizing folks, you don't have anything positive, there's no light shining anywhere that you can, that's a sign of a deeper problem. Okay. Defensiveness. When we are defensive, we are really blaming other people. Mr. Gottman says, and let's be real, it's true. Because it's never anybody else. It's never us. It's always everybody else. It's always everybody else. But the issue really is more about us than them. See, when we're defensive, it makes things worse because all we're doing is shedding the light on everybody else, but we really don't deal with the problem, which is the root, because we're the common denominator. It's inside of us. If you got 5 friends, and it's always everybody else, and at least 3 of the 5 is in agreement that the problem is you. And then when they try to come to you in love and shed that light and help you, you want to get defensive. It's not them, it's you. And and that's just not helping the situation. You see, you got to learn to get to the root as to why you're defensive. But that means you have to be willing to face yourself. Going back to what I talked about, emotions, keeping that stuff in check and learning how to deal with yourself. And be willing to pick up a mirror and face yourself. And now if you're defensive with yourself, you really got a bigger problem. That your friends and your spouse, your boo thing, not going to be able to help you until you are ready to deal with whatever it is that you don't want to deal with. Stonewalling. Mr. Godman says stonewalling is when we are disengaged. No, you know some folks, you deal with some folks on your job that's disengaged. They are tuned out. They check out. They done checked out. They just a physical shell. They just physically there, but they mind somewhere. Who does that? Was that the old days? Your body's here with me, but the rest of you is on the other side of town. Come on. Stonewalling. You know when you with somebody who's physically in front of you, but they are not tuned in to what's happening. They done checked out. They with somebody else. They dreaming. They in la la land. How does that make you feel? When you with somebody and they somewhere else, doesn't feel good. So don't do that to somebody else. Because when you check out, they gonna check out. Now on your job, it just makes things a little less friendly. It doesn't help with camaraderie on the workplace. It makes, it brings morale down. It does all these different things. But I know somebody who's just checked out from life at work. They just like, I'm just here to get a check, get out of my face. I'm doing the bare minimum. Don't ask me to do no extra. And these are some of the people who always criticizing, always complaining. They always defensive. Like this like a step, just like one on top of the other. Because when you see the next one, you're gonna be like, oh my God, like they all go hand in hand. That's why they're the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse of the relationship. Because they really do go hand in hand. When you check out, other people check out. Because who wants to be around people who don't really want to be there in the first place? Your girlfriend ain't interested in being around you no more, boo. And you don't even have the good sense. You're not even present to notice she checked out because you so self-absorbed that it's all about you, boo. Because you the life of the party. But you don't realize that you partying by yourself. And then when they going on wait a minute, she shaded me. She didn't. No, you didn't pay attention. You didn't listen. You were defensive. You were all these different things. Oh, no. Same thing on your job, girl. But they do what they need to do to go ahead and get a step up and da. But you just here to collect a check. And that's why you bitter and you mad that you've been in the same position for 20 years and haven't been, but they keep overlooking me for promotion because you're here to do the bare minimum. And I bet you heard somebody on your job who said, you know what, I've been here, they always bringing in somebody from the outside, and they always doing this, but let's turn this mirror on you, sugar. You don't want to do nothing these people are asking you to do. You no extra, because you checked out. You punched that clock, but you ain't here. You in your phone, you own this, you do the bare minimum. You're not a team player. And when you're in a relationship with your friends, your boo thing, whatever, you got to be a team player, boo. And the last horseman of the relationship apocalypse is contempt. Told y'all. I told you they all go hand in hand. It's like, listen, it's like a step program. I'm telling you, they all go hand in hand. Contempt is at the heart of every relationship turmoil, every relationship in the graveyard. I'm telling you, you just got to figure out why you feel the way you feel. Because contempt is poisonous. It makes other people feel like you're disgusted with them. Like, you don't want to be contemptuous. You don't want contempt. You don't want to feel like, oh, okay, I'm disgusted by you. Who wants to be around people who make you feel that way? Okay, on your job, I know somebody, that same criticizing, defensive, stonewalling person makes everybody feel like they just disgusted by them. Like, oh, I can't stand you. Oh, nobody want to be with anybody like that. I got a Sweet Brown moment. This one, ain't nobody got time for that. Nobody ever has time for that. And you should never make time for that. Let me tell you something. Don't go somewhere where you're tolerated. You need to be around people who will celebrate you. And, unfortunately on your job, it might be somebody that you work directly with, but that doesn't mean you have to constantly be around that person in their toxic environment. Draw the line. Sometimes that's the problem. We don't draw lines. We don't have boundary lines. And that's why we don't have healthy, stable relationships. We allow too much foolishness. We allow too much disrespect and dishonor. And that's why we get all up in our feelings, and because we're around toxic people, their toxic stuff rubs off on us. And you don't want that. You have to guard yourself, guard your heart, guard your mind, your emotions, guard yourself against that stuff, and speak life over yourself. Speak positively into yourself, because when you do that, you begin to change, and then you become a light. And maybe that criticizing, defensive, stonewalling, contemptuous person that's on your job will start to see the light too. But don't draw into their toxic, draw them into your light. And it's in every relationship, do the same thing. Don't get sucked into other people's toxic. I don't care if it's your boo thing. I don't care if it's your husband. I don't care if it's your wife. I don't care if it's your sister. I don't care if it's your cousin. I don't care if it's your rider. I don't care if y'all been friends since the third freaking grade. Doesn't matter. If they toxic, you better see them for what they are and who they are, not for who you want them to be. Draw the boundary line, draw it in the sand and say no more. Because you got to take care of you. If you want something more out of life, that means, and you're not achieving it, that means there's something or someone in your life sucking that out and keeping you away from that. And a lot of times, your relationships are the reason why you can't get to where you're going or get the things that you want. And some of us, we want to be up here with some folks. Like we want to come on up a little higher. You can't get here with people who have a mentality down here, who don't want to be up here. Why? Because it's work being up here. And the higher you go, the more work is involved with maintaining who you are as a person and respecting who you are and respecting other people. You have to change your mindset, your attitude. Everything has to change, because that's the bottom line. Is everybody is not going to put up with certain things. So if you trying to get out of this level and get up to here, guess what? You got to shed some folks first and then work. There's a gap. So what do you do between that gap? You got to work on you, baby. And that means stop criticizing and complaining, stop being so defensive. When people come to you about something, it might hurt for a minute, but you know what? Go and reflect on what they said and say, wait a minute, you know what? About 4 people have said this thing to me, and just maybe they're not in the same way, but okay, maybe this is something I really need to think about and I need to look into. And get yourself a coach. Get you somebody that can help you. Talk to somebody. Invest in yourself and go from there. But don't stay where you are, or every relationship you have is going to end up in the relationship graveyard. Because at the end of the day, the common denominator just might be you. So I want to thank you. I'm pretty, as you can see. I'm excited about talking about relationships and relationship killers and all those things that really affect our relationships. I just really want to see you have healthy, stable relationships and keep your relationships out of the relationship graveyard. And really, it starts with you. As the common denominator, it really does start with you. And you have to figure out why you are the way you are, why you feel the way you feel, why you think the way you think, why you do the things that you do, and what is attracting all of these things and all of these people to you, and why do you stay with people who just keep you in the same pattern. So, hopefully something I said was, sparked a little something in you, and you want know a little bit more, feel free to reach out to me. Make sure you leave me some comments, drop some comments below. I'm good with it, good, bad, or indifferent. Listen, no shame here. Saying. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you kind of, feel like, yeah, somebody else needs to hear this, and yeah, I know a couple of folks need to share this video, baby. Hit that share button. And finally, make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. I got more stuff, exciting topics. We're gonna talk about keeping up with the Joneses, because that's another thing that affects relationships, and we'll have you in a relationship graveyard. So just stay tuned, man. Stay connected. Invite other people to subscribe to the channel and come and look and see what else I'm talking about, because it's a lot of great things. As always, I like to end to tell you to remember to spread lots of love and light. Until next time, thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next stream. Bye.